America loves easy stories, the kind that keep the mirror clean. And for generations, the easiest story they told themselves was simple. Poverty had a color, black, as if struggle lived in melanin, as if broken windows and boarded doors were born inside our DNA. Cameras panned through our neighborhood like they were filming a wildlife documentary, narrating our hurt with pity, never with truth. They never asked who laid the traps we fell into. My name is Simmons, and this is Chronicles of Black. If you feel this story in your bones, if you recognize this lie for what it always was, subscribe, join this voice, and tell me what your heart says in the comments. We build truth together, because no one else ever did it for us. For decades, America painted poverty on black skin like it owned us. The news showed children walking past liquor stores to reach underfunded schools, mothers choosing between medicine and groceries, fathers judged before they even spoke. They told the world this was our failure. They never mentioned red lines on maps or job applications slipped to the bottom of the stack. They never showed how a system can starve a man then blame him for being hungry. Politicians stood at podiums and said, "Look at them," not look at the policies, not look at the locked gates or stolen wealth, but look at the people trapped inside it. They needed a villain to distract from the architects, and white America listened. They swallowed the story whole. They nodded, believing we were lazy, uneducated, irresponsible, believing poverty followed us like a shadow, because we were somehow built for it. This belief wasn't just ignorance, it was comfort. If poverty was a black problem, then the rest of America could sleep easy. They could say, "Not us, never us." They never imagined they'd one day stand where we stood, feel what we felt, cry the way our people cried, because they weren't taught truth. They were given a myth, polished and televised, one that hid the rot beneath the floorboards. And that myth didn't just shape opinions, it shaped policy, it shaped neighborhoods, it shaped the way a black child was seen before they even spoke their first word. A lie so old it felt like law, like nature, like gravity. And they loved it, because it kept them innocent. But innocence has an expiration date, and history is preparing to collect its debt. Our grandparents didn't start life behind, they were pushed behind. A quiet kind of violence, paperwork, zoning lines, smiling bankers who shook your hand while denying your future. A man could work 30 years and never owned a house his sweat paid for, because one red line on a government map said his skin made him a financial risk. They called it lending criteria. We called it a wall. Picture a black mother in 1954, Sunday dress pressed, hair pinned neat, walking into a bank with hope folded in her purse. She wants a loan for a home outside the city, somewhere her children can sleep without sirens. The banker glances up, sees her brown face, stamps denied before she finishes her sentence. She leaves with her dignity, but without a future. That denial wasn't just against her, it stuck to her children, and their children, like a shadow. Highways cut through our thriving communities the way a blade cuts through muscle. Neighborhoods full of black-owned shops, barbershops, churches, gone. Eminent domain, they called it. Progress. But the only thing that progressed was displacement. Families scattered, businesses crushed, wealth stolen without a headline, factories hung help-wanted signs. But the black man with broad shoulders and calloused hands walked away jobless. Meanwhile, white men clocked in and fed their families. We were qualified, capable, ready, but never chosen. Not because we lacked skill, but because opportunity was fenced off like private land. Schools in black neighborhoods sat hungry for resources, while suburbs feasted. Property taxes fed education, and we were never allowed to own the soil under our children's feet. So our classrooms leaked when it rained, textbooks faded, futures dimmed, and when test scores dropped, they blamed the students, not the starvation. Generation after generation, we watched ourselves stretch, hustle, pray, while the ladder stayed nailed to the ground. White America was told they were paying for our failures through taxes. But the truth is we built this nation's wealth with broken backs and never held the keys to the vault. We stood at the bottom of a staircase no one else could see, climbing with nothing but faith and a will to survive. These memories live in us like scars you don't talk about, only feel when the weather changes. We did everything right. We played by rules that were never meant for us. And still we were told the problem was us, not the system that designed our struggle. But storms don't stay in one neighborhood forever, and someday someone else would taste what we lived. Time moved forward, but the old lie stayed glued to the walls. Poverty is a black problem, that's what they said, that's what they believed, until one day, the storm changed direction. Factories shut down in the Midwest the same way they once shut down in Detroit. Coal mines dried up like they never were. And the towns that laughed at us, they started to look like the neighborhoods they thought they were better than. Porch lights went out for good. Schools closed. Homes sold for less than an old pickup truck. The same boarded windows they used to associate with black struggle now stared back at them like mirrors. You could walk through rural America and feel the same quiet sadness that lived in our communities for decades, a silence no one could ignore anymore. Then the opioid epidemic hit like a flood. Fishing towns and farmland watched entire generations disappear into addiction. The way crack once hollowed out black neighborhoods, but when it was us, we were criminals. When it was them, suddenly there were crisis response teams and mental health awareness. Our pain was handcuffs, their pain was sympathy. Still, the hurt was real. For the first time, white America swallowed the same bitter water we drank for half a century. Jobs vanished. Healthcare became a privilege. Shelters filled with veterans who once believed the system cared for them. Men who worked iron and steel now stood in food bank lines with eyes full of shame they never imagined would be theirs. And the country panicked, not because poverty existed, but because it no longer stayed where they expected it to live. Trump arrived like a preacher with a golden promise. He told them he could bring the jobs back, rebuild the towns, make America what they remembered. They held on to his words like scripture. Yet factories stayed closed, wages stayed thin, hospitals shut their doors. Their hope didn't grow, their poverty did. The irony cut sharp. Poverty was never black, it was never genetic. It was never a cultural flaw or a moral failing. It was power, hoarding resources, hoarding land, hoarding opportunity. It was wealthy men convincing poor white people that their enemy was us, and no one would notice who was pulling the strings. And now the myth is broken. The storm they once watched from a distance is on their doorstep. Their sons trapped in low-wage jobs, their daughters skipping medicine to pay rent, their pride cracking like our windows once did. History isn't laughing, it's whispering. Do you see it now? It happened slowly, then all at once. One day, a reporter walked into a food pantry in Kentucky and filmed a line that stretched around the block. Not a single black face in sight, yet the tears looked familiar. A white mother held two toddlers close as she whispered to the volunteer, "I never thought I'd be here." Her voice shook the same way our grandmothers' voices shook in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Different skin, same emptiness in the fridge, the same fear that tomorrow might not get better. And in that moment, the country saw something rare, a mirror, a reflection they never prepared for. I imagine a white veteran, Gulf War cap pulled low, sitting outside a hardware store with a cardboard sign, "Need work, will do anything." His pride changed into hunger. A black veteran, older, weathered by time and battles at home and overseas, stops beside him. No lecture, no blame, just quiet understanding. He hands him a sandwich, looks him in the eyes, and says, "Brother, I've been there my whole life." No judgment, only shared pain. That's when the truth cracked open. These two men were never enemies. They were two sides of the same history, one side hurting for decades, the other just now learning the taste. And for the first time, pain became a bridge instead of a divide. We don't cheer at their struggle, we understand it. We survived the storm they are just beginning to feel. We raised children through poverty so normalized it became part of our language. We buried dreams but learned to plant new ones in the cracks. Poverty was never about color, it was about power. And now it's clear as daylight. Their tears look like ours. Their hunger feels like ours. And in that reflection lies a chance, not for revenge, but for awakening. Because once you share suffering, you can share strength too. The world looks different when pain is shared, doesn't it? When the lie falls apart and the truth stands alone, unmasked and undeniable. For so long, America pointed at us as if struggle belonged only to black families. As if broken homes and empty pockets were something we created for ourselves. But now the mirror is held up, and everyone can see what was always there. Poverty is not a color, it's a consequence. This is not the moment to celebrate another's fall. We gain nothing from that. Instead, we offer a hand across the line they once drew between us. A chance to build something better, not by ignoring the past, but by acknowledging everything it cost. If this country wants healing, real healing, it begins with truth. The policies that locked us out, pushed us down, shut our doors, starved our hope, must be confronted like the enemy they always were. We are still here, still breathing, still rising. That alone is power. Black communities survived what many never imagined they'd face, and we did it with love, faith, and a resilience the world could not break. We were told we were weak, yet we outlived the storm. We were told we were the problem, yet history proves we were the warning. And now the nation stands at the same crossroads we faced generations ago. Will America learn? Will we rewrite what was broken? Will we stop blaming the poor and start questioning the powerful? The answer will shape what comes next. I picture a future where the child in the suburbs and the child in the hood both walk into a classroom with the same books, the same teachers, the same chance, where a hungry family is met with compassion, not judgment, where we build ladders instead of fences, where we rise, not alone, but side by side, because history does not punish, it reveals. It gives second chances disguised as hard lessons, and this moment, right now, is one of them. The question that remains is simple and heavy. Now that the mirror has cracked, will we finally see each other, or will we pretend the lie was worth keeping? Only one path leads forward.